But we got big news to talk about. One big bit of news that has a lot of things in it, and that is Dawn of DC, which we kind of already knew about this, this titling, and they were, I think they were called the Dawn of the DCU before. Now it's just Dawn of DC,
yeah.
And it's basically just, it's another one of these sort of initiatives where here's a kind of a banner to launch a lot of new titles under, and we already kind of know a couple of them because we had all the Superman announcements already for early in the year. Action Comics 1051 being kind of the kickoff, and we have the new Superman book. So basically, there's going to be a bunch of titles coming out after they've done this Lazarus Planet thing, and they're going to be starting new creative. Again, all it really is some creative shakeups and some new books. It's unclear from this list that I'm about to read from which ones are ongoing in minis, and the reason why I say that is because one of them is definitely a mini because the cover clearly indicates it's a mini. And I was also reminded it was also the winner of that round robin thing from last year, but that's...
might be the only reason it's a mini, potentially.
Possibly. But it wouldn't surprise me if a couple of the others were also minis and they're just not mentioning that yet.
It is possible, yeah. They did say, that there's going to be 20 new titles and at least 2 other events after Lazarus Planet during the year as part of this event.
Yeah, that all sounds fine, yeah. There is an image that kind of like teases like some stuff. It sort of fades to black, but there's kind of like a timeline. The only reason why I'm bringing this up at all, to be honest, is because one of the things that it teases towards the end of it is a Hawkman symbol, and I'm only bringing that up because there's no Hawkman book listed in what I'm about to read to you. So, just worth mentioning that there's probably a Hawkman thing at some point.
Yeah, it's interesting because they seem to, like, on that image, they are pretty broken up by months that they're being announced.
So you would assume there's going to be at least one per month after that as well.
Yeah, I would assume so. I think it's interesting because we know that the month with Hawkman in has the Shazam symbol as well, which we're going to talk about in a minute. So I think it's interesting that they're not announced everything from that month, clearly.
No, maybe they just want to finalize at least one detail. Maybe they don't have like either the creatives like nailed down for it yet or something, and they want to hold it back. But regardless, we have a bunch of new titles to talk about. Ultimately, is what we're here today, and basically the announcements are from March onwards, because we already had the Superman announcements. So up first in this line of books, we have Unstoppable Doom Patrol, which is kind of cool. We're getting a Doom Patrol book. I think, Doom Patrol's maybe in a bit of a different place culturally than it was the last time it had a book, because there's been a TV show which is about to get its 4th season. Season 4 premieres in December. So even if that's not the world's biggest hit, the fact that it's had a 4-season TV show means that there's probably a group of people who are willing to read a Doom Patrol book that weren't before. And
probably that before it had Gerard Way's name attached to it, which definitely helped. I think its initial sales, just in its existence.
There's a lot of emos who never bought a comic book before buying that because Gerard Way's name was on it.
Believe me, I went to a Comic-Con where Gerard Way was signing around that sort of time, and oh my god, the queue of emos that went just it was a lot. But that book was ultimately hurt by some pretty significant delays more than anything else. It's actually quite a good book.
I remember being really confused by the first issue because I literally never read a Doom Patrol book when I tried that first issue, and then I've since read a fair bit of Grant Morrison's Doom Patrol, and I've watched the TV show. Like, I'm a lot more familiar with Doom Patrol as a property now, so I feel like I'd probably understand it now. But at the time, it was very confusing.
Yeah, I went back and I read the first series of it, so there was like 2 minis essentially. I think there were like 12 issues each, maybe.
Yeah, and then the Milk Wars thing, whatever that was.
That was in the middle, yeah. That was a crossover. I read that first series, and it was really quite good. Definitely recommend it. It says here that this Doom Patrol book's from Dennis Culver and Chris Burnham, and I feel like Chris Burnham was involved in that book, maybe.
Okay. This is apparently spinning out directly from Lazarus Planet. The world's strangest superheroes are saving the world by saving its monsters, and there's a cover for this, and even like a page of uncolored comic art. I'm kind of pumped for that. I mean, I don't really. Dennis Culver's not a name that strikes like excitement in my heart or anything, but I am happy that there is a Doom Patrol book, and I'm excited to give it a shot because I do like a bunch of those characters, and just sort of looking at this like unfinished art page and seeing Negative Man and like Cliff and all that. Like it's just nice to see.
Yeah.
So cool stuff to have them back. The winner of the round robin, which is Superboy Man of Tomorrow, is coming in April. Kenny Porter writing with Janai Lindsay, right, on art. Determined to find his place in a strange universe, Connor Kent / Superboy leaves Earth behind, but his journey of self-discovery brings him face to face with a group of freedom fighters who challenge not just everything Connor stands for, but what it means to be to bear the Superman crest. This is probably the least exciting one. A, because we kind of already knew about it because it was the winner of the tournament, but it was also one of the least interesting sounding of the tournament.
Yeah, we weren't particularly excited about that even at the time.
No. It's not funny where if you reframe it as it's just in this list of new titles, like, it's a Superboy book, yeah, I'll give it a shot, whatever. But knowing what it beat, it's like,
Yeah, it's probably the least exciting thing in this entire lineup as well.
Yeah. Also April, there's no artist yet, but we have Mariko Tamaki getting a new book, hopefully an ongoing, because I would like this one to be, and that is Green Lantern Hal Jordan. So this is just, a Hal book, which seemingly is going to be set more on Earth than space itself.
Yeah. I think just to counter out, you say, you hope it's an ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
Later in the year, we have Green Lantern John Stewart.
Yes.
From Philip Kennedy Johnson. And the fact that that's later in the year, I'm going to guess it's a 6-issue mini, and it'll start pretty much direct, John Stewart will show up pretty much after Hal Jordan finishes.
That's less interesting to me than just having 2 ongoing books.
Less interesting, but I think that's what I would suspect is happening, and it's their way of not, because they really don't want to oversaturate Green Lantern right now. They've been insistent for a while of having just one book.
I hope you're wrong, because I want both of these.
I hope I'm wrong. I want both of them, but
because both of these have people on it that I want to read long form stories from. I really like Tamaki, and I really like Philip Kennedy Johnson doing John Stewart. So, I just hope you're wrong, basically.
I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah. I actually looked at this and thought, we're finally going to have 2 Green Lantern books again, and you're trying to dash that hope.
I'm not trying to. I'm setting your expectations. It's expectation management. I'm helping you in the long term.
Are you though? I don't know.
Yeah, well, you don't want to get really excited to have 2 Green Lantern books and then they crush you like in a few months' time. You just prepare yourself for that.
I think you're reading a lot into later in the year, because that's what you're basing this all on.
I could be, but they have announced all the others they've announced up to June. We've got books announced up to, so it's at least after June, right?
That's only 2 months later.
Well, no, because it'll be July by the time it's announced. So we'll have had 3 issues of Hal Jordan, which for me, I'm like, okay, I can see that being halfway through, and then
that's only half of it. All right, I think you're reading too much into this.
I would like an apology when they announce it my way.
No. If you're right, then you're the prick for putting this stuff out there, and it's your fault.
I'm sure DC have already made the decision on how many issues this is, or at the very least, they have an internal decision that they are not sharing right now.
They haven't decided shit. How many books end up being longer than they originally thought?
No, that's kind of what I was getting at. Where they've definitely got a thing recently in recent years where they will announce something as this many issues, but they have a back end deal of if it sells the X well, we will extend the issues.
Yes. Well, I'll be cynical for a second, because the next book, Cyborg, coming in May, and I don't care what they say about this. This will effectively be a miniseries. even if they say it's an ongoing, it'll be a miniseries by the time it ends.
Yep, they haven't even announced a creative team for this one yet. They're just like, of course we're gonna have a Cyborg book. Why wouldn't we?
Yep. I'll give it a try, like I do most Cyborg books, and it'll probably get one issue.
Get one issue, like most Cyborg books.
Unless the team's just that exciting and do something interesting with it. I don't see that going. Whereas obviously there's no names here at all, but those names on both Green Lantern books are tantalizing. It's like, okay, yes, I want more books from these 2 writers, regardless of what they are. Pretty much the fact that you're giving me Green Lantern books, which I've been feeling kind of deprived of for a while, is even better. Obviously it'd be even better if it was a Jessica or Kyle.
I would not be surprised to see those come in. Like if my theory's true, I think you get for the next couple of years, essentially. Just we'll run through all the Lanterns with the 6-issue mini.
I'll read them all except one.
You'll read it.
We got Batman Brave and the Bold, which they've listed a bunch of names here, but clearly it's going to be rotating teams. We got Tom King, Mitch Gerads, Gillian March, Gabriel Hardman, Dan Mora, Rob Williams, and more. Although Tom King's only a writer there. Maybe is Tom King writing all of this?
No, it's.
No, okay.
I did see that they said it will
All
be
right.
different creators each issue, and it's obviously the premise is Batman teams up with different heroes. That's what Brave and the Bold has always been.
So it's a series of one shots, effectively.
Yeah, basically.
That's fine. Well, there'll be good issues. There'll be bad issues. The one with Gillian March, unless it's like a great writer, in which case you get that conflict. But otherwise,
on the bright side, I mean it's an anthology series. It'll be easy to skip.
Oh, of course, yeah. Then we got a Green Arrow book, which is something we've also been missing for a long time since his ongoing ended way back. So this is going to be Joshua Williamson with Sean Isaacsy.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, go with that. This is coming in April. Oliver Queen has been lost since Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths, and his family has been determined to find him. But there are dangerous forces just as determined to keep them apart at any cost. So, there's a little bit of a monkey's paw here with this one. Now that Joshua Williamson's writing it, I think he's a perfectly fine writer for a Green Arrow book.
This is when I say mid-tier writer. This is the sort of character I expect a Josh Williamson to be on.
I have no problem with Williamson writing a Green Arrow book. The problem with this is the tie to Dark Crisis, because I've been enjoying Dark Crisis, as has Matt. But the thing with Green Arrow in the last issue felt just kind of murky, and we didn't understand why it was happening the way it happened. So the fact that this is spinning from that is kind of weird. I'm sure it won't actually matter that much after the first issue or two, but it's like, whatever. I don't know.
I have no idea what that thing is. This is going to be weird for me when I start reading this Green Arrow book.
Hopefully it's just something they brush away quickly. But if the first arc's about getting to him or like him coming back, then it might be a very big thing in the first arc.
Yeah, I think the fact that because it's obviously that's Williamson's event and this is Williamson writing this, it'll probably feel like a pretty heavy follow-on as opposed to another writer just kind of brushing it off. Yeah,
that would be my thought. And obviously he's writing Superman, which is his big book. So, I always do like the writers who are big DC writers having two ongoings. One, which is, a bigger character, and then one is like a B character. I do like that kind of setup. And then we have a Shazam book coming in June 2023 with Mark Waid and Dan Mora, which is the current World's Finest team. Billy Batson is back as the champion in an action comedy comic about a boy with powers that rival Superman's and the whole lot of growing up left to do. We'll see Shazam hanging out at the Rock of Eternity, his secret clubhouse that can travel through space and time, as well as punching dinosaurs in the face, seeing how long he can hold his breath on the moon, and getting into wild and fun adventures with his tiger, Talkie Tawny, by his side. This is all great. The only slight thing I don't like about this is that I am loving the current Mary book from Shaner, and I'm a little sad.
That was only ever a mini, though, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, but I would like it to be more than that. So, inherently, I'm a little sad that we're back to Billy just because I'm enjoying what the current thing is, and it's only 4 issues. So yeah, I would like more.
Yeah.
But Mark Waid and Dan Moore on a Shazam book is not something to be upset about in any way, shape, or form.
It sounds fun, and Newsarama also clarified that neither of them are leaving World's Finest. Apparently, Moore is pulling art duties on both. Which sounds extreme, but he was doing this for a good while on he was on Batman. Was it Batman? No, he was on Detective, wasn't he? While also doing Once and Future, and just Once and Future had a couple of break issues that let him get ahead on Tech, but that break months.
Yeah.
Whereas I think World's Finest just will have the occasional fill-in artist. I think even February we'll get to it and solicit that's a fill-in artist.
Yeah, we've already had one, so it's like we don't even have to.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it'll just be like, but as opposed to just one issue, it might be 2 or 3 at a time. A little small arc without him, and then he'll rotate through arcs essentially.
Well, I'm just glad that Wade's still on World's Finest, and that's still going to be an ongoing book because I'm enjoying it. And there was a chance that maybe either it was like going to end around this starting, or possibly just have a new team on it. So. That's cool to hear. Next up, we have The Penguin, which is a Tom King and Stefano Guadiano book coming in June 2023. After escaping Gotham City and his current criminal past to happily retire in Metropolis, which has actually already been set up in another book, the Penguin is forced back into organized crime by the US government. The feathered felon and Gotham City will never be the same. So,
this is the most Tom King premise ever, right? The Penguin has to work for the US government.
Yeah. I mean, I don't necessarily need a book with Penguin as the main character, but, you know, it's Tom King, so I'm sure it'll have some interesting commentary and things to say. I also don't feel like I need a Penguin TV show, but we're getting one of those too. So
yeah.
So, you know.
Apparently people want Penguin.
People want Penguin. So somehow Penguin's getting more stuff right now than Joker is. I don't know how that happened, but he is. Steelworks is next up, and that is no team as of yet. It's coming in June. Just in time for his 30th anniversary, John Henry Irons must bring Metropolis into the future while trusting his niece Natasha to carry the mantle of steel. That sounds like a fun idea, is having like both of them and having it be kind of this legacy passing.
This definitely feels like a mini in waiting.
It probably is, just because it's a smaller character that doesn't tend to have ongoings. I don't know if Steele's ever had an ongoing off the top of my head, but
I can think of.
But, you know, it sounds like a fun enough premise for a book. Again, it's not a creative team. This is the sort of book, though, that I'm sadly expecting to get, like, some unknown creators on it that I've never heard of. And then it may be good still, but there'll be no, like, guarantee or, like, hype for it as a result, I don't think. It is interesting, though, because if you bundle this into the Super line, though, it's like, oh, this is, like, the C-list Superman book of the month. Like, it kind of has a place in that bouquet, if you will.
Yeah, it makes sense. Just kind of padding out the Superman family. It's the sort of thing that if you throw in a Supergirl book as well, you know, it definitely. I know that that's maybe gonna, you know, step on some toes with what they're planning with Action, though.
Yeah, but arguably so does this, because I think this is exactly the sort of backup that could just be in Action as well, and they're still doing it. So, I like with the Action going bigger with the two backups. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if Supergirl's just in there for a while, but at the same time, she is the biggest second super character, if that makes sense. So I also wouldn't be surprised if she ends up with a book again before the end of the year.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if it's one of these to be announced.
Yeah. So, I mean, looking at this list as a whole, I'm delighted that there's a Doom Patrol book. I'm delighted that there's some Green Lantern books, so also a Green Arrow book. And I'm excited for the Shazam book. And then the others are kind of like, oh yeah, we'll see what they're like. And they're not as exciting on their own, but it's not a bad list, you know, especially since it's not like we're replacing a bunch of books in the sense that, you know, we still have a lot of the books that are ongoing are still ongoing. We still have Batman, we still have, you know, Superman, Action Detective, and Nightwing, and, you know, all these other things that we're currently enjoying are still happening.
Yeah.
So if this was like we're cancelling everything and this is just the books that we're starting with, it'd be like, oh, there's a lot of stuff missing. But that's not the case with this particular list.
No, it's pretty varied. Also, I've just had a glance again at that image, you know, the black image of the timeline.
Aye.
A couple of things I've noticed on there. It has the events across the top. So obviously we have Lazarus Planet, but in the middle we've got one that seems to be starting in July by the look of where it is on the time, and it's Night something. Night as in Dark Knight.
As in Night spelled with a K.
Yes, but I was specifically saying that because my assumption was going to be that it's probably a Batman related event.
I feel like the point of this title is to harken back to Nightfall as a title.
Possibly. I will say we can see the first letter of what actually looks to be a second word. It looks like a space. It's a T.
Night treat.
Yeah. That'll do it.
Night takes over. I don't know.
The only other thing I've got from this image is the thread going across the bottom. Very, you know, looks like some Brainiac tubes, like wire tentacles, wires.
I suppose, yeah, maybe that's leading to the big event, the third big event at the end of the year. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking. I'm assuming Brainiac related.
You could also, maybe not. I don't think it really makes sense with what's already there. I was going to try and theorize about the different strands, and maybe that represents like merging of timelines or some bullshit, but I don't think it actually does. I think I'm just
no. If anything, it's kind of it's only one side of it, but it's kind of going alongside like one type of like a DNA strand.
Yeah.
I could see it coming. Like this is the DNA of the DC universe. Is kind of what they're trying to say, right?
Yeah, something like that. So there you go. So that's the big dawn of DC announcement. So there's a bunch of books, which we'll get more information on, if not before, then certainly when these are all solicited when the time comes. But
yeah,
so some fun stuff in there, and I think what's nice about it is that like it's not a lot of there's like 2 technically Batman books, but by and large it's all things that were kind of missing from the lineup, rather than just here's some more Batman and Superman books.
Yeah, but there's always going to be more Batman books.
Yeah, but it's such a small part of this, whereas it could have easily have been like here's like 9 Bat related titles and then 1 B-lister.
And you like it.